Welcome to Intuitive Astrology with Molly McCord. Thank you so much for joining me today, as this is a Monday podcast episode where we focus on a specific astrological topic or theme. And today we're going to discuss the soul significance of Neptune in Pisces at 29 degrees, the very, very last degree point of the full astrological wheel, and an energy point that we don't experience in every lifetime. There is deep significance with Neptune being at 29 degrees of Pisces in this lifetime and in your chart. So in today's show, I invite you to please look at where you have 29 degrees of Pisces by house placement, as this is where significant completions, endings, and a void is showing up for you until January 2026. Neptune is going to retrograde across this degree point, even while dancing into the new energies of Aries. And each time that Neptune returns to 29 degrees of Pisces is where you are deeper releasing, allowing, and dissolving something that you've been carrying and energetically experiencing that is now no longer needed. And I'm going to talk more about that in today's show. So let's begin with some essentials about understanding the influence and cycles of transiting Neptune. Neptune takes about 164 to 165 years to transit the whole zodiac. That's how long it takes for Neptune to make a full journey around the sun. And as it does so, Neptune spends about 14 years in each astrology sign. Neptune is one of the planets that is furthest from Earth in our solar system. And astrologically, Neptune symbolizes how we are able to detach and transcend above the physical world, just to put it in its simplest understanding. Neptune is about how you can rise above the physical world and what you are seeing, feeling, or tapping into that is actually much higher in frequency. Neptune is where we have our dreams, our imagination, our intuition. It's connected to your higher self and your soul. It's how you see above the mundane to understand the energetic significance of something that can even be hard to describe, hard to put into words. Neptune can be quite foggy and confusing. Neptune can be where you're not sure where you're going. Your navigation system feels broken. And it's where you're meant to go higher. You're meant to access the higher frequencies and energies that are always working with you, that want you to receive more insights. Neptune is quite receptive in how we receive messages, intuitive downloads, how we trust what we feel, even when there is contradictory information or understandings from the mind, from the ego, from the body, and from the physical world. Neptune is where you rise up to this beautiful surrender and detachment from your own mind, your own ego. And this is where we learn to trust. This can also bring up what we fear. This can bring up the parts of ourselves that are learning to trust, and the bigger overarching themes of Neptune that we're also learning to apply. So this is forgiveness, learning to forgive. Also compassion, unconditional love, being able to tap into that bigger vantage point of energy that allows us to be gentler, softer, more allowing. Neptune in Pisces has really been exemplifying these energies since Neptune moved into its home sign of Pisces back in 2011. And so I am going to reference that as we move through these energies. But just note that because Neptune takes 164 to 165 years to move through all 12 astrology signs, this is an energy that we are experiencing individually and collectively for the first and only time in this existence, in this timeline. And it is important to understand that, because as you zoom out and as you see the bigger trajectory of your own growth and development, this could bring up some key themes that you are learning to surrender and detach from at a soul level in this lifetime. And of course, it's one thing to say that, and it's a whole other thing to practice it. Now, before we jump into that, it's also important to note that Neptune is where we want to escape, where we want to avoid. We can feel lazy or confused. We can feel like we don't want to deal with reality. We don't want to deal with bills and commitments and things in front of us. We don't want to show up. In fact, we'd rather leave or practice that Irish exit and sneak out the back door. Neptune in your chart, both by natal placement and transiting influence, is showing you where you'd rather not. You're like, I'm going to unsubscribe. I want to cancel. I'm not into that. That's not for me. I don't want to have that in my energy field. This is where escapism lives, especially Neptune and Pisces. This is where we seek something else that actually helps calm us or returns us to an idealism, a different state of understanding, a different experience of energy in the full energy field. Neptune and Pisces is also where we go to blame. It holds the lower frequencies of victim consciousness, which is everything happens to me, and that sense of feeling powerless. Neptune and Pisces is where a part of you doesn't always want to be here, doesn't always want to show up, doesn't always want to participate or even connect to more energies that can feel too heavy at times. There's an energy of, I don't want to be burdened by this. I can't handle one more thing. I don't want anything else on my plate. I just want to catch the next flight to a tropical island where I can't be reached. There's no Wi-Fi service and no one knows my name. It's the energy of disappearing, of feeling like I need a break, I need a vacation, I need more sleep. And all of these themes fall under that overarching energy of disconnecting and detaching from the physical world, from the mind, the body, and the ego. Neptune and Pisces also brings up health issues that can energetically be related to what your body is holding, what your body is moving through, managing, clinging onto, perhaps what has not been fully expressed, fully felt, fully processed. Neptune in Pisces wants that complete removal of what no longer serves you, but it can be difficult to see and understand that in your present reality, in what you're experiencing and what you're moving through. And because Pisces is the very last sign of the zodiac, it's actually where we do a dance between our physical world and our spiritual world, between our ego and our higher self, where we're learning that we can go higher and see ourselves beyond this self-identity, beyond who you know yourself to be in this lifetime, and remember the vastness of your energy field and everything that you're connected to through your intuition, through your spiritual growth, through your soul's energy field. However, in order to make the most of those insights and that wisdom, then you have to bring that energy back down to the earth, back down into your body and into your present reality. And so there's this beautiful synergy that can show up as you master the Pisces energy, especially with Neptune and Pisces, where you learn to give yourself a break, to trust your intuition, to listen, to get quiet, to give yourself that vacation, to honor when you need a nap, when you need more rest, when your body, your mind, all of your physical experience is requiring you to take a break for the betterment of your human reality. But then that break time eventually ends, your alarm clock goes off in the morning, and you return into your body, you return into the mind and what you have to actively take care of here in your life. But the more that we master this ongoing synergy of going higher into these Piscean influences and then bringing them back into our human experiences, the more we can take care of ourselves, we can reduce overwhelm, we can understand how to be be in our physical power while also being deeply connected to our intuition and our spiritual growth. So, of course, this is just an understanding of how this energy works. If you have strong Neptune, Pisces, or 12th house energies in your chart, then this is something you're working on throughout your whole life. And it's important for you to understand more about it. And if you're looking for more understanding, I do recommend a book by Maurice Fernandez, a professional astrologer who has written about this energy signature extensively. His book is called Neptune, the 12th House and Pisces, The Timelessness of Truth. It is on Amazon, and it could be a wonderful resource for you in understanding what this is, especially in this lifetime. I also recommend the book by Stephen Forrest called The Book of Neptune, which also goes into what your soul is guiding you through in this lifetime. And of course, trust what any other titles or books appeal to you on this topic, but I wanted to give you more resources to dig into and understand. Again, both of those books, one is by Maurice Fernandez and the other is by Stephen Forrest. So now let's take a look at the significance here of Neptune and Pisces reaching the final degree of the full zodiac wheel, where Neptune is in its ruling sign of Pisces. We call this the final dispositor because the planet is in its ruling sign where it is the most comfortable, it's at home, it's in an energy that it naturally exudes. And because of this, Neptune has been very strong. Now, Neptune first entered Pisces back in 2011, so it might be quite insightful for you to look back on what Neptune and Pisces has been requiring you to let go of since 2011, specifically in the Pisces house or houses in your chart. Now, there is a built-in resistance at times to Neptune and Pisces because there's things you don't want to let go of. You don't want that to change. You don't want to step away from that. And it's happening against what feels like your choice, your free will, your sense of empowerment, and certainly against your ego or what you thought would last. But Pisces is about the ongoing surrender of energies, of what needs to flow through, what needs to be allowed to change. And so depending on the temperament of your astrology chart, depending on how you deal with change, certainly shows up with the Neptune and Pisces influence, as well as what you've been moving away from and moving through since Neptune first entered this sign in 2011. Now, this is where many people have also stepped into curiosity around these Piscean understandings, meaning there's been a revival in spiritual curiosity, in wanting to connect with your intuition, in developing perhaps more of your psychic abilities and trusting yourself. There's also an opening into your emotional world and maybe parts of yourself you haven't seen before. That's also because Pisces and Neptune are hidden. They are hidden energies, especially in the physical world. It's behind the scenes. It's what people don't know you're feeling or experiencing. They don't know how you're developing your intuition or what you're doing with your energy that isn't always evident or clear. Neptune in Pisces is the invisible. And it's the invisible part of your energy that you're learning about, you're connecting with, you've been required perhaps to trust it more. And it's showing you how you are capable of surrendering and flowing with deep life changes that can feel sad, that can feel like they bring up grief, parts of yourself that you didn't want to let go of, or parts of your reality that you didn't know would be changing. However, this is one reason why astrology is so awesome, because you get a heads up on this part of my world is changing. So for example, when you have transiting Neptune in Pisces moving through your 10th house, that is big career changes and you don't know where it's going. And this is something that we are learning to trust, that we aren't always designed or prepared to understand. And so that transiting Neptune in Pisces is where you've had to deal with a lot of removal, perhaps a lot of instability, feeling like the ground is always shifting. Think of it as the waves coming onto the beach, because Pisces is about the ocean waters on our planet and how there is an ebb and flow of ongoing energy with the ocean as those waves crash onto the beach and they bring up new treasures, new seashells, new things from the bottom of the ocean that we wouldn't normally see, but also then pulls back into the ocean and removes sand or removes what was on the beach. And so this is part of the natural ebb and flow of Neptune and Pisces in your chart, where there is no consistency. It isn't designed to be a stagnant energy. And so you're learning to trust that the flows here, the ongoing arrival and removal in this area of your life is divinely guided. And how are you able to work with those waves of change? And this always feels more personal when Neptune and Pisces is working with one of your personal planets in your chart. Specifically, your Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, or Mars. If you have any of those 5 personal planets in any of the mutable signs of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, then you'll probably look back and notice how much you had to give up. You were forced to give up. You were forced to surrender it. It was gone. It disappeared. You couldn't grasp onto it. It was like trying to hold on to water in your hand, and it wasn't designed to stay, which brings up parts of ourselves that want to grasp on, that want to contain it, and that might want to further attach because we don't want something to leave. So again, look in your chart at where you have these mutable signs of Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Pisces, because Neptune in Pisces has been requiring you to stay formless, to stay open, to stay allowing of what comes in and what goes. And these particular astrological signs in your chart have been in that theme since 2011. And the transiting Neptune and Pisces, those energies tend to last for at least a year and a half. And it can be longer depending on the retrograde cycle, as well as the territory that Neptune covers. But it's an ongoing removal and trusting where you don't know what happens next. And you can feel like, I'm just floating in the abyss. I'm just in this state of I don't know. And that's very difficult for the mind. That's very difficult for our sense of self. And it can bring up a lot that we have to work through. So when these outer planets are working with you specifically, it's showing you an assignment, a universal assignment of what you're learning, and also where you're understanding more of your energy through these themes. So since 2011, this has been a very big theme for the collective, and it's brought up more for us to be aware of that we are being intuitively guided into. So at a very simple level, take a look back at how your intuition has grown and developed since 2011. Look at how your emotional mastery and your ability to trust and surrender has evolved since 2011. Look at how much of your world, your personal world, has shifted and changed, perhaps even with ongoing instability since 2011. Where have you been required to stay open, to just surrender? And how have you been learning that and applying it? This can be great to reflect upon for yourself at a personal level. How well have I been trusting the endings? And that is a big theme. This is the surrender point, the endings, the big completions. And as we go through that, we also have new awareness of what we don't want to end, or where we don't want to step away from something, what we don't want to surrender. But Neptune in Pisces is the bigger influence, and especially because it has been a final dispositor energy in the astrological hierarchy, there's things that have to go, ready or not. And as I tune into this energy, I invite you to do the same, because I have some messages here that are designed to connect with you at a soul level. And what I've been receiving as I prepare to do this podcast and go into this topic is to visualize yourself, your aura, your physical self, all of your energy, and visualize seeing it in front of you, where you are fully detached and you are viewing yourself in this lifetime, in this body, in this self-identity. And Neptune in Pisces has been continually requiring you to allow something in your frequency and in your energy to dissolve, to be removed. And this is something that you've actually carried at a soul level across multiple lifetimes. And this was the lifetime where, with this transiting energy occurring, you knew at a soul level something big would be ending and leaving your reality. It was going to be a big area of soul surrender and soul growth. It was going to be a big part of your energetic experience to continually complete a cycle or an unconscious loop in multiple lifetimes that you no longer want to experience in your energy field. And so as you visualize yourself, your aura, your physical vessel, look at what is coming up for you that has been fading, dissolving, being flushed out of your reality. Because as Neptune in Pisces is at 29 degrees of Pisces in 2024, 2025, and January of 2026, this is a grand completion at a soul level, and it isn't necessarily clean and clear. You could feel messy around it. You could feel emotional. You could feel both sides of the energy spectrum, where you're excited, you're joyful, you're relieved, you're recognizing yourself. I did it. I completed this. I can truly feel how I'm ending something that has perhaps been karmic, intense. It has kept you in a loop. You could feel your energy rising up with celebration, especially when you're connected to the bigger perspective of the energetic transition. And at the same time, because Pisces is the energy of duality, at the same time, you can feel sadness, disappointment, grief. You can have a lot coming up within you that feels contradictory to the fact that you know you did this, or that you're completing something. You could be feeling both. And so I feel like it's really important to remember the word and. I'm celebrating this ending, and I recognize what part of it is not fulfilling. I'm really proud of myself for my ability to surrender, and it's been damn hard and intense. There's an and component here where both parts of your energy, and by both, I mean your human self and your spiritual self, are actually creating a new energetic synergy about this part of your experience. And throughout this time period, where Neptune is at 29 degrees of Pisces, there's things that you could be seeing in a new light. Because 29 degrees of Pisces, the very end of the zodiac, is where energy has been dissolved. There is a blankness. There is a sense of something has faded out It's fading away. It has turned into mist. It's something you can't even see. You certainly can't touch it. It is leaving your reality, and it can bring up a lot that even feels emotionally or energetically complex because of either how you've been dealing with it or how you've been avoiding it. Pisces is where we want to avoid at times, especially if it's overwhelming or it's too big, especially when you don't know how. You don't know how to deal with it, or you don't know what to focus on or how to move through it. So depending on where you're at with what's coming up for you, it can be a lot. It's almost like if you push things away, or if you were unaware of how this transiting Neptune and Pisces has been moving through your chart and consequently moving through your energy, there could be things coming front and center that you do have to see or deal with, that you do have to move through. It could feel like it's catching up to you. And I feel this as a universal gift, where as you identify it and you see what it is, then you can understand where the surrender and detachment is needed. But that can be its own process. And because this energy is ongoing and comes in strongly, starting in May 2024 to September 2024, there could be things that you're feeling in a whole new way that activates that and influence. In 2024, Neptune in Pisces travels to 29 degrees, 56 minutes of Pisces. Now, this is a big deal because we measure these degree points so specifically. 29 degrees, 56 minutes is barely right there, about to begin 0 degrees of Aries. So you're literally at a supreme ending, a big surrender point, a huge transition. And then the energy will go back to 27 degrees of Pisces, reach 29 degrees of Pisces again in March 2025. Then Neptune goes into Aries, where it travels to 2 degrees of Aries, bringing in the new, ushering the rebirth, the potentials, new choices. Who am I now? What do I want? What is true for me now? Then Neptune returns to Pisces in November 2025, where it stays until January 2006, completing that degree point at 29 degrees of Pisces. So we are deeply exfoliating something at a soul level, and it can be quite emotional, quite big and significant, especially if this energy is working with you specifically. There is something that's meant to leave your reality and your energy field in this lifetime. And if you've been consciously aware of it, you've been doing the ongoing work, you've been working with those waves that slam onto the beach and can be really emotionally big. You've been working with the deeper understanding of how you're growing, what is essential for you. You've been aware of your own spiritual path and your spiritual health in this lifetime. There's things that you're ready for now because you've allowed that void to exist. And when Neptune in Pisces is at the very end here, you are sitting in a void. It's a void of completion, and it's a void of potential. It's a void of what has left. It's a void of what's to come. And a void is pure potential that is very unknown. And there are parts of us that absolutely don't like that. We don't want that. Tell me now. Show me now. I want proof. I want evidence. And I see it as there could be a part of you that is running back to something. You're running back to what has left. You're like, no, don't go. Please stay. I don't want this job to end. I don't want this place where I've lived to be demolished. I don't want to move on. I don't know what's next, and I'm scared. And that can also come up as this energy is very pointed, which is almost contradictory because Neptune in Pisces is about an openness, but there's something within you that might be working through a very big detachment process. There could also be parts of you that don't want to deal with that, and you're escaping, you're blaming, you're going into self-pity. There could be parts of you that are resisting the change or resisting your own evolution. And then there could be parts of you that want to rush forward, that want to rush ahead to the new, and you don't want to wait, and you don't want to sit in the void. You don't even want to be in that previous energy or that previous frequency. You want the new. But that also isn't fully here yet. So it's important to acknowledge that being in this void can be wildly uncomfortable. So take care of yourself, take care of your energy, where it goes, where you're feeling inclined to do something. Be aware of your own escapism habits. Be aware of your own desire to create the new because of impatience. All of this can be quite trying on ourselves, especially because we don't live in a culture or society that wants us to sit still. This is simply being in some type of silent retreat, a meditative state where you're learning that that is peaceful, that is beautiful, that is where more of your intentions can gain energy and can rise in you. There can be more you're learning and more you're receiving. I feel like this is a degree point where more people are going to become spiritually activated with their gifts. You're going to become more intuitive. You're going to notice who you no longer are or what no longer exists in your reality, and you could feel quite free. You could feel like, I love this openness and I'm ready for what's to come, even though it's not here yet. You could sense it. You could feel like it's just right there or it's coming around the corner, but I can't see it yet. Also important to note that as Neptune in Pisces hangs out at 29 degrees, we also have the Saturn in Pisces traveling behind, cleaning things up, looking at the unfinished karma or consequences, helping you gain strength in what is true for you, helping you understand, oh yes, this is definitely done. This is definitely complete. I have no interest. I have no connection to that or to that person. I have nothing in common with them. We're on very different paths, very different frequencies, and that is a certainty that Saturn in Pisces will bring in. Saturn in Pisces is going to show you how far you've come, but specifically in the past 30 years, because that is the cycle that Saturn works in. And so as both Saturn and Neptune are working with this last degree of the zodiac, it's going to be so clear what you have mastered, how you have graduated, and also how you need to continue to be responsible for your use of these Pisces energies. I did a separate podcast episode for you on Saturn and Neptune dancing through Pisces together. It was released on January 15th, 2024. The title is 2025 to 2026 Astrology, Saturn and Neptune Dancing Through the Final Degrees of Pisces. So please listen to that podcast if you want even more about how those two are bringing a significant focal point of completion to your life. These are lifetime endings. This is a big deal. There's also phases of our soul growth that are no longer meant to move forward with us. Your frequency around something is permanently ending and permanently changing. In fact, it's not going to fit in your new reality. There's people you've outgrown. There's situations you've moved from. There's things that are no longer a frequency match. There's parts of your skills, parts of who you are that are connected to a former version of yourself, a former level of consciousness. And even as the new comes in these waves and phases, you're only receiving it bit by bit. This is a grand transition, and the focal point is the letting go and the surrender, because there's always something more that is a better match, a better fit, a better opportunity for who you are now energetically. Neptune connects to your energetic frequency. Neptune connects to what you are holding and living from beyond the mind, beyond who you think you are. And understanding this can help with where you're going and also what you need to further release. So just take inventory. What are you clutching onto? Where are you afraid of an ending? Where perhaps you have stopped your own growth, or you've resisted something that is actually for your best and highest good? Where are you realizing, I actually am better off if I let this go, even though it makes me sad, even though it's disappointing, even though it's stirring up grief or whatever it is? This is where you're mastering your own ability to be in both energy fields at once, being in your humanness and your spiritual energy fields. Because too often we can be lopsided. We go to one more than the other. Also look at, are you circling in something that feels like it's going down the drain? Are you too energetically involved or emotionally attached to sadness, to the grief, to whatever it might be, and you need to come up out of that? And that's actually where your humanness can come in. Your mind and your sense of self can come forward and say, okay, let's look at this from a more flexible standpoint. Let's look at this from a more concrete understanding that it's okay to feel sadness and to acknowledge the loss. This is loss. That's what the ego feels at first, or the mind specifically feels at first. This is a loss because you're in that letting go experience, that surrender of maybe an idealism, of maybe something that was never going to be what you thought it would be anyways, because there is idealism here. And you could move that to a more balanced place of understanding the pros and cons. There's pros and cons with everything. There's a reality check with everything. The opposite of Pisces is Virgo. And that Virgo energy is going to say, sure, that's what you wanted, or of course that would have been beautiful, or yes, that was a great experience and it brought about so much. But now you come back into the present reality of today, and that Virgo energy is like, but you're here now. And this is the reality of what is. It's sort of like latching on to someone's potential, but it's not the reality of who they are. You could also be releasing the potential of a path in your life, a dream you once had, and you're realizing that dream is over, that dream is ending. You're not even interested in that dream, but maybe there's a lot you put into that dream, or creating it, or making it happen, or simply moving towards it, and then realizing, I don't think I want this anymore. That's going to be a strong theme here. It's connected to who I was, but I don't even feel like I'm that version of myself anymore. This is where we understand, with both a reality check and honoring our intuition, honoring what we're feeling, that there could be something here that you know you're moving away from. You know it isn't true for you anymore, and you don't know what is, or you don't know what's next, or you don't know the how. That is 100% what this energy is. And just think about how that stirs up our own fears, our own doubts, our own sense of security and safety. But this is also where you can call in that trust that the universe will know and will show you what it is. There's a reason why it's not for you. There's a reason why it's not working out, or why you're not meant to go in that direction. And even though we know this and we experience this theme at multiple times in our life, this is a big deal theme right now on the planet. And it could show up as a rejection. And perhaps you've heard that saying that rejection is universal protection. Rejection is where you're not meant to go down something that isn't going to be for your long-term benefit, or even that you've already outgrown, but you haven't fully accepted it or integrated it. This is where there's things that are going to move away from you, that are going to disintegrate. And you might observe yourself trying to grasp it back or hold on to it or clutch it close to your heart or to your energy, even though your deep soul wisdom knows it's not correct for you, especially if the frequency doesn't match, the journey doesn't match. There's going to be some beautiful new beginnings that open up, especially in 2026. And we're not there yet, but they're coming through. And the universe is creating them, and things are happening behind the curtain. Things are coming together, and you could feel anticipation, something bubbling up, something like pulling at your energy and sensing, oh, I think this is where I'm going. I feel this coming through. You could also be having new energies arrive that match your future self. And that's something that's very beneficial about this, is that there could already be things coming in that you feel with a greater certainty is going to open up for you. This is especially true for friendships, new connections, new work opportunities, new interpersonal dynamics, new relationships, new partnerships. I'm seeing it as a group of souls who are already experiencing this influx because of the work you've done, because of what you closed out already. You are leading the collective forward with huge trust in the unknown. And you're kind of like a preview group, if you will. You're the ones who are going to confirm for people that the endings are worth it. The completions are going to pay off. What you are moving away from, again, at a grand level, is so important for your own growth, and you probably can't even see it yet because it's not fully here. But some of you are getting those previews. You're feeling it. It's almost like being that early adapter to these energies. Because of the work you've done, your ability to be courageous in your surrender practice, you're receiving the trickles, the connections, and what is important for where you're going next. Even if that also feels inconsistent. It comes in, it goes out, it's there, it disappears. But there is a greater trust rising within you as you are floating in the void of completions and potentials. So please know that this is right on time. And because this is a 164-year cycle, there's an intensity to it in this lifetime that we haven't experienced yet. And because it's private and personal, people might not be flaunting it or talking about it or showing it on social media, but it is a collective energy cycle that's meant to take us into more of the new earth energies, into our new consciousness, and into more of who we truly came to be in this lifetime. So if you need support, please reach out and ask for it. Please know that there are resources available. There are people available to help you with whatever you're completing. Because I am feeling that, yes, there is grief and there's a sense of being alone, but you're never truly alone. And you might feel like therapy would help you. A counselor would be advantageous. A healer would be good to have on auto dial. You know, there are people who can help with this grand transition. Also look for those resources and guides who are there to move you into something that hasn't appeared yet. I've mentioned before that you also might be drawn to the work of Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who describes the 5 stages of grief and how those stages can overlap, how things can show up that bring up this completion theme and your own emotional process with it. So it's a beautiful opportunity to look at how you let go, but how you do so with radical self-love, radical self-compassion. That even when you feel like a messy blob using up all the Kleenex, your soul is right there. Your higher self is supporting you in that process of relief. And then you could also feel newly energized, newly ready to go because you're aware of the depth of change and transformation that you're moving through. And that's a celebration. That's a big deal. And that's also where the universe is divinely guiding you, supporting you, and loving you forward. So Neptune hanging out at 29 degrees of Pisces is a big deal for the collective, is a big deal for us at an individual level, but is also a celebration of where you're advancing and moving forward on your own soul journey. And going back to that visualization of your own energy, look at where you feel an emptiness, a void. Perhaps you're feeling that in a particular part of your body, in a chakra. Perhaps you're feeling that in something that surprises you as you intuitively tune in to this energy. But that is where you've been divinely emptied out, and it's where beautiful new potentials await. I hope this information has validated you and affirmed something you are moving through that is a big ending. It is a big deal. It's a very big deal. And oftentimes we can not realize that until later, but I hope this validates something that you are transitioning through. If you need help finding where transiting Neptune and Pisces is moving in your chart, I do offer an online course that teaches you about the transiting planets, what they look like, how they move around your chart, and where they're showing up for you to understand their significance at this time. You can also get it for 50% off with coupon code TRANSITS. And I'll put that link below the podcast. It's designed for beginner to intermediate level astrology, as it brings in more of the dynamic shifts and changes of astrology in your chart. Again, learn transits in your astrology chart online course, 50% off with coupon code TRANSITS. As always, thank you so much for joining me. I hope to see you back here again every Wednesday and Monday for our next podcast episode. And thank you for connecting with me through this wild, expansive ride. Have a beautiful day ahead, and I'll see you back here soon.